Hi, it's us. I thought I would record the introduction to this episode.
Oh, it's a video.
It's a video. This is Kariithi. This is what he looks like. Say hi to the people.
What up?
Okay. Yeah, so thank you so much for listening. Bye.
Hi, and welcome back to the Utajua Hujui podcast. Now, a quick word before we get in. Your girl Aileen has a little bit of a potty mouth, which means she does not mind her language and she speaks the fluent French. Which is all to say that I understand that some people are a little bit uncomfortable with this language, so here's just a warning for you. If, however, you are not uncomfortable and you would like to learn about the world around you and capitalism and colonialism and just like all this fun shit with a dazzling, brilliant, and funny host, if I do say so myself, keep listening. Do you want to record a podcast? Kariithi, come and play. I never see you anymore. Come out the door. It's like you've gone away. We used to be best buddies, but now we're not. What are we gonna do?
That's off key.
Do you want to record a podcast? It doesn't have to be a podcast.
Okay. I don't know this song.
Oh my god, how do you not know
I don't know this song. Is it Wakanda Forever?
Isn't there a song called Wakanda Forever?
No, I don't know.
I think so. Hang on, let me check this.
Never watched Frozen in my... Oh. Whoops.
Okay, so I take it you do want to record a podcast.
Sure, let's do this.
Okay, hi, hello, and
Welcome
back.
to the Utajua Hujui podcast.
Yes.
Brought to you by Aileen's tea. What is she drinking today?
Oh my god, it's almost always green tea and mint.
You see what confuses me? I thought her tea was purple tea.
No.
Because it's in purple packaging. So
Purple
why?
and blue.
So why is that mint and mint is green?
They're
Green tea is green. Why does it need to be
So it's
purple?
because it's part of like their attitude collection. Get it? Attitude.
It's terrible.
And each like packet has like a different color. So green tea and mint is blue and purple. I believe chocolate tea is like a dark brown and like a mustard yellow. I think green tea and lemon is green and yellow. Love tea is black and pink.
What's love tea?
Love tea is like rose, vanilla, and something else.
What's the use of love tea? Is it supposed to make people fall in love?
I don't know, but it does make you more affectionate. And I think it might be the placebo effect in action. I don't know.
I was gonna ask, do you know that from experience? Is that where you're going?
Moving on. Moving on.
Lack of answer is always an answer. No answer is always an answer.
Whatever. So how are you? How have you been?
Salama, hustling, going through this world of being overpriced for everything and looking for every cent and realizing that certain denominations of money have no value anymore.
So like what, the 100 bob?
Once you break 1,000, it's gone. By the way,
It's useless. It's
oh.
useless. Hey, because also from a non-car owner to a car owner, I'm so sorry.
You see, now what confuses me is very simple. Although they explained it, I remember that David D was sitting down. No, he wasn't sitting, he was standing, explaining why oil prices are high. But oil prices everywhere have been dropping. In fact, someone gave me a statistic and said from November till date,
The landed cost.
it has dropped by 40%,
Yeah.
the price of oil. Our price of oil, yes, I'll give Ruto one thing. It has become consistent, like it goes up by 1 bob, 3 bob. But
the only consistency is
why is it going up?
I don't know. Maybe it's the government needs the extra money to cover its shit. We all know this.
So they're all saying it's the Dora.
The dollar is the dollar. I don't know what you want me to say. Like, our foreign reserves also aren't the best right now.
I think I'm going to become like those people. One day when I become very rich, be like, pay me only in dollars. Please.
Oh my god, it's so nice.
I want it into my dollar account.
It's so nice because I recently got paid in dollars, right? And I'm just letting it sit so I can just watch it become more and more shillings.
See, the value just increases.
Even though I know it means the shilling is basically dying.
And then what's step 2 of being rich with many dollars? I pay very big people to save me a lot of money and take my money outside of Kenya.
Yes.
I think that's so you pay the smartest people to get involved in tax avoidance. I think that's step 2, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So speaking of tax avoidance and money and wealth and big people, I have a question to ask you.
Sure.
If you were a dictator, what petty dictator shit would you do? Like rename all the months of the year after you and your mom, or force everyone to memorize your book in order to get a driver's license, or make the words for yes and no be your name.
I think I would develop a weird spike contraptions along the sides of the roads. So that
oh my god, this is so petty.
Every single Kenyan who does this stupid overlapping nonsense gets spiked, and they sit on that road and they must repair their tires by buying new tires. And by the way, a tire goes for between 3 to 11 or 14 or 50,000 shillings. So every time you do that, instead of paying the government your fine because it's just going to the pocket of policemen, no. You buy yourself new tires. You Kenyans, my goodness, learn to drive on the roads. I'm sorry, I'm such a strong Pan-Africanist and I love my country. And you know, the classic, the Kipkeino classic just happened, and it was excellent. Ferdinando Manyala, 9.84 seconds. You know, yeah, woo! But you Kenyans and your traffic rules, oh my god. And before you continue speaking. It's not just traffic rules. Kenyans just don't follow rules. They just don't follow rules. Have you ever lined up in a line in a bank, and not in Nairobi, like lined up in a line in a bank outside of Nairobi, and then you just watch, and it's always a lady, by the way.
I'm sorry,
walk right round everybody and go straight to the front of the line. Why?
Okay, look, in my defense, the times that I have done that is to ask a question, and I go back in line.
That's still wrong.
How is it wrong if my question informs whether or not I stay in the line?
Julius Nyerere.
Oh my god.
Called Kenya a dog-eat-dog society. And then Jonjo responded by saying that Tanzania is a dog-eat-nothing society. However, this anarchy in this republic of ours with regards to laws. And this one I'm going to throw completely flat out at our current administration. Oh my God, bribes and corruption has gone rampant. It has gone rampant. Everywhere you go, every office you go, people just want money. No one is hiding.
Okay, you know what? This one actually has something to add on because, like, we all know it feels like corruption has gotten worse.
Yes.
Right? So it makes no sense to me why, in an environment where the citizens of this great republic already don't trust the government to use money appropriately, the government then said, hey, we need more of your money. To do what with, we don't know. It's just weird because we don't trust you. Then why did you raise taxes? What makes you think we're now going to pay taxes? What makes you think we're not going to engage in more tax avoidance? Because we don't trust you with our money and we're tired of giving you money.
And have you not heard? You as a content creator shall now be taxed.
I don't make money.
So you'll be your cup of tea shall be taxed. 30% shall go to the government. 30% of your tea. You know?
They can have 30% of my nuts.
Oh my God.
Anyway, so...
Hey, if you have 30% of nuts, then we have a problem. I need to walk out of here.
Have you never heard of something called a soul dick?
I think that is only something a woman can talk about because every other person of the male persuasion doesn't need a soul dick because guess what?
Y'all are dicks?
The dick gets to eat first.
Okay, alright. So, I kind of want to send this to your parents and be like, look at Kariithi.
And I love my parents, but I told them certain podcasts, maybe not best for you to listen to.
Although I think your parents would love this podcast.
I think they would. I think they would just struggle a lot for a few reasons. Number one, you're my wife, so
work wife,
ex-work wife. We can forget the ex, we can forget the work.
But it's a work
so
wife.
So they already
situation.
know you as like my wife.
Work
as my wife.
Work.
Potato.
No, potato fish. Work.
Hey, potato and fish works very well together.
No. Okay, we're losing track.
Anyways, so they'd be like, this friend of yours who you were greeting at that function swears that much, talks about green things.
Anyway, one last question before we... And this one has to be quick because
I asked you, like, the question I asked you about being a dictator, that was only supposed to take up like 1 or 2 minutes.
Just sorry, spikes on all roads. That's what I'm calling
You
for.
went on a rant, like you had something in your soul that
And
needed to be expressed.
second also, I would remove, and this one my cousin's gonna kill me because this is actually his idea, but speed bumps that don't need to be there need to be gone. But anyways, continue.
So today we'll be talking about the life and death of Clement George Michael Argwings Kodhek, or CMG Argwings Kodhek.
That makes so much sense. When I was reading on him, I kept seeing CMG. I'm like, kumbe, his name is Clement?
George Michael.
So it's C.G.M.
Yeah, or Michael George. I think I may have gotten this wrong already. Like, I'm a hack and a fraud. So he was considered the gem of the Luo nation, but he was also a potential assassination victim. The reason why I say potential is because we just don't know.
We will never know.
There is so little verifiable information that anything I say in this episode might as well be treated as speculation. Like, I'm trying my best, but we know nothing, and it is infuriating. Because at the time of his death, Mr. Kodhek was a minister. He was a big man. I think he was minister for foreign affairs. Like Duale, right?
Duale is not minister for foreign affairs.
What's his face?
It is Mutua.
Thank you. The Machakos guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Duale is minister for
defense. Okay,
and I'm looking forward to reading his book, by the way.
So he had Kodhek had spent his career defending Mama freedom fighters. He and Mboya held it down in the 50s when the British government told us we could not have national political parties. Put simply, this man was very clearly significant to Kenyan history, and by 1960s everyone knew it. Yet his death was not investigated, and it's just suspicious as fuck. And also, everyone also uses the same words to describe what happened to him. They all say it was a quote-unquote mysterious accident.
Yep.
Hornsby calls it that. Branch calls it that. Even the Truth and Justice Reconciliation Report says it was a mysterious accident. Because that's all we know.
You see all the others, Pio Gama Pinto, Tom Mboya, Senior Chief Worohio, C.G.M Karaoke, you could all confirm they were assassinated.
Yeah.
For this one in Argwings Kodhek, it's up in the air. In fact, I was really shocked when you said that the next assassination person you're looking at is Argwings Kodhek, because I was like, from my knowledge of history, Argwings Kodhek just died. As in, no drama, but damn, you decided you want Argwings. Let's hear about Argwings.
Because he's a fascinating man.
Actually, yeah, and I think you could divide his life into so many
Into so many
pockets.
things.
You could talk about the Luo politics dynamics. I mean, it was 3. Well, it was 2, but 2.01. So it was Jaramogi, the man from Ramogi.
Yes.
That's what Jaramogi means. Oginga or Dinga. Then you have Tom Mboya on the other end, and then you have Argwings Kodhek.
Yeah.
Who probably was bigger in the beginning.
Yeah.
But you also learn that the Luos had different types of politics. The big Luo kingpin for the longest time was Jaramogi.
Yeah.
However, funny enough, Nairobi was dominated by Luo politics in the beginning. But we'll get there. I think you'll get there.
I didn't go into that much detail, which explains why this particular script is like 3,200 words.
Do you know what she did when she texted me? She's like, "Oh, this is a short script. It's like 4,000 words." Excuse me?
I said less than.
Excuse me?
I said less than.
But still, that's a lot of words.
Most of my scripts on average are between like 6,000 to 8,000 words. My Ethiopia script was about like 15,000, which was a beast to write, but it was also fun. So anyway, here we are. We have Argwings Kodhek. Okay, in order for somebody to die, they must first be born. And Argwings Kodhek was born in 1923 in Malanga Gem constituency.
Siaya County.
Yes, to a wealthy Luo landowner from the Ugandan border. His parents were among the earliest Christians in Nyanza, and he was baptized as Clement Michael George.
It's so funny how those days, like, I mean, one Mzungu name is too much, but three. As in 3. And then you think Kiambu people, by the way, if you look at Kiambu people and like Nyeri people of that generation as well, 2. They had 2 English names. Why do you need 2? Anyways, back to you.
Later in life, the Clement Michael George was localized to, and forgive me, I don't speak Jaluo, Chiedo More Gem, which means cooked or fried in gem.
In gem.
In gem, thank you, in gem. As soon as he was able, Kodhek started going to school. First to a local missionary school, and then later to St. Mary's School in Yala. And finally, he went to St. Mary's College in Kisubi, Uganda, where he got his O-level certificate. Thereafter, he enrolled in Makerere and graduated with a teaching degree because that's all you were allowed to do.
You could either be,
clerk-
in Africa,
clerk
you could be a clerk,
or a teacher.
you could be a teacher, you could be a nurse.
Yes.
That's it.
I mean, both my grandparents were teachers. Yeah.
It was it. In fact, teachers was like, wow.
Like, oh my God. Like,
Clerks,
wow.
but many of the ones who became very wealthy in politics were clerks.
Also, can I say, I think the way we say wow is very Kikuyu. Yeah.
Wow.
Like, wow.
This guy, I need to find his name, who corrects people on Twitter with their language. But yes, us Africans, and Kikuyus especially, WOW is actually WAO.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Anyway, so he now has a teaching degree and he comes back to Kenya. And Kodhek would spend the next 5 or so years working as a teacher in the Rift Valley and the Nyanza provinces. Around this time, he actually met Daniel Arap Moi and taught him how to be a teacher and nurtured that talent. And they worked well together, which was, in my mind, I don't see those two men ever crossing paths like that.
I mean,
it's weird.
I think Daniel Moi, this is fast forwarding to the end, literally. I think he gave the eulogy at Kodhek's funeral, so they were friends.
But it's just like you don't think of Moi as a person. You think of him as a tyrant.
Was he a tyrant?
Are you really is this the hill you want to die on?
No, I'm just saying. No, he was what's the word? Autocrat.
Yes.
He had totalitarian tendencies.
Sure.
He was not a good president for 24 years.
I feel like you're describing a tyrant.
However, I'm not going to compare him to Idi Amin Dada.
Oh my God, no.
Dada. You see, I think the totalitarianism is saved for the worst. The Stalins, the Idi Amins. I think Moi was terrible, but man, they were worse.
So basically you're saying it could have been worse. It could have been worse. That's your defense. It could have been. It wasn't bad because it could have been worse.
He gave people hell. He was against human rights. A lot of people were killed. But Idi Amin Dada, how can they be put in the same sentence?
You put them in the same sentence.
You said totalitarian.
You said totalitarian.
You said tyrant. You said
yes,
tyrant.
I said tyrant.
Have you watched the Netflix show How to Be a Tyrant?
Oh
Who are the tyrants there?
God.
Saddam Hussein,
But
Idi Amin, Joseph Stalin.
Okay, you know what?
Please.
We will continue this discussion off mic because while the script is not a long script, we do not have much time to banter
literally
like
36 minutes.
So let's get shit done. In 1947, Kodhek won a government scholarship to study social sciences at what is now Cardiff University. But he didn't want to study social sciences. Nope. He wanted to study law for very obvious reasons. And for also very obvious reasons, the colonial government was like, no.
Nope.
No.
You don't do law.
No. So when Kodhek applied to study law, the government was like, And his response to this rejection was essentially the 1940s equivalent of new phone, who dis? As soon as he arrived to Cardiff, Kodhek enrolled in a law degree to be studied alongside his sanctioned Bachelor of the Arts. Now, I have a law degree, and I earned it during the age of...
Didn't know.
Okay, I rarely mention it, so please leave me alone.
Wow, I
rarely mention that. Even you know this. You can't give me shit for it. I worked hard for that degree.
She's a lawyer.
Sure. Okay,
although she's refused to cross the T's and dot the I's.
I'm crossing the T's and dotting the I's in other ways, please. Anyway,
KSL.
And anyway, so I have a law degree, and I earned it at the age of the internet, where all the case law and legislation was found at the literal tap of a button. And there were still moments where I struggled to find out information. So now, how did Kodhek in the 1940s and early 50s manage to have both a law degree and a social science degree is beyond me.
I guess spend your whole life in the library.
It's fucking
correspondence.
Impressive. I mean, honestly, this kind of competence is also low-key attractive.
Not to self, get another degree.
No, that's not it. That's not the point I'm making. Anyway, unfortunately, the British kind of figured out that he was doing things he wasn't supposed to be doing, that he was studying law. So they terminated his scholarship after 1 year. Now, a law degree and a social science degree both are 3 years.
Expensive.
I think maybe 3 to 4 years. So he proceeded to pursue a law degree with the financial support of his parents at the University of St. Andrews in Scotland, which just goes to show you how much money his family must have had. Like, he's a man of privilege. Like let's not beat about the bush about this. And in 1949, he graduated with both degrees, and 2 years later he joined the bar at Lincoln's Inn, one of the most prestigious legal bodies in England and Wales.
Did John Joe also join Lincoln's Inn?
I think so. He joined Lincoln's Inn or Gray's Inn. Like it was one of the big three, and he was a barrister, which is the guy that appears in courts and like defends you. Whereas a solicitor are the people, typically people in the office that handle like the contract negotiations and like do all the stuff you'd see in suits.
Okay.
Besides going to court. Now around this time, Jomo had also began to tour the UK, Kenya, and kind of like build a base for the Kenya African Union. He was also beginning to like operationalize our demands for independence. So Kodhek was like, you know what, let me turn my legal talents to defending my people, let me go back home. And in 1952, he quit his well-paying job and returned to Kenya to join in the struggle. Everyone was like, why? Why would you go back? And their concern was proven right, because the second he landed, he was quickly humbled by the colonial government, because racism.
Yes.
It's always racism.
What was he offered?
The government insisted first that he complete a period of residential training to
seriously?
Like this is a man who managed to get into one of the best legal bodies in the world.
But that's normal,
and
isn't
the government
it?
was like, sorry, no.
Even you, if you became a barrister in the UK and you wanted to practice in Kenya, don't you have to do like a Kenyan
No,
integration?
all you have to do is go to Q and get your qualifications just translated. Like there are equivalents, and if you match the equivalents, you're good to go.
Oh.
The fact that they didn't do that for him, because they did that for other lawyers, other English lawyers that wanted to come practice here. But for him, they were like, no, residential training. We insist. And Kodhek was like, you know what? Okay, I will do this residential training. So after he did it, this is what Paul Mwangi from the Black Bar says, and I quote, "The Law Society of Kenya reluctantly recommended that he be admitted to practice in the colony, and all the while looked around for a mallet to smash him back into oblivion."
Yep.
It wasn't just because like Kodhek deigned to be a black man practicing law, but that he was an African man, a colonial subject who defended people against their colonizers. And he did so while reading his white counterparts for filth. There's a story of Kodhek defending people who had been arrested for loitering without intent. And Kodhek's defense was basically, how can a human being loiter without intent? Most of the time, if you're walking, you're there for a reason. And he won. So indeed, he dedicated his early career to defending the Mau Mau, and not a moment too soon. He landed in Kenya as soon as a period of emergency began.
Yep.
And according to a profile in the Sunday Post, Kenyatta gave him a royal reception, he gave him a bottle of brandy, and then rushed Kodhek to the studio, and then rushed Kodhek to like a photo studio to be pictured with everyone from KAU. It was very interesting. And as soon as he was confirmed, Kodhek became the only African member of the Nairobi bar.
It's actually very interesting because also you remember, I think one thing I sort of schemed through was when he came back, he came with company of the
I mentioned this later. Go on.
the white persuasion.
Of the melanated
Demelanated,
divisions.
yes, demelanated, whatever it is called.
Yes.
And unfortunately, there was no. That was not something you do. Like there were no laws for that. That was just.
No, miscegenation was not a thing. Like Kenya, I don't think as a country we've quite understood how racist the English people were when they were our colonizers. How willing they were to institute like an apartheid-esque system in this country, because they were willing. They just were never given the chance.
And also, like most of these guys who went abroad, think of it this way: they were African men. When they went abroad.
Okay, I'm sorry. What are you saying?
When they went abroad without their wives, they got new wives. Many of them. And many of them left children. It's a fact. But what they did is when they were coming back to Kenya, that wife, if they had the means, they sorted the wife like Jomo. His wife never suffered too much. But when they came to Kenya, they had that Kenyan wife.
Yeah.
Argwings decided, I'm coming with my...
Right,
he decided
right.
to do... What's that movie with... this actor.
Harry Belafonte? Guess who's coming for dinner?
No. It's literally a movie about Botswana and the Botswana
a
prince.
United Kingdom.
Something like that. where he comes with his white person. So Argwings Kodhek was like, let's do that. Let's come to a... And you realize there's no laws, there's nothing. So you have to make the laws up.
Except the only law that there existed was that like black people couldn't live in like Westlands, Kigiri, like those areas. So he couldn't live with his wife in those areas, even though he could afford to live there. So I think he ended up somewhere in like Eastlands with his wife, which must have been interesting for everyone involved.
And when I listened to an interview from his daughter said his wife was actually very well off.
Yeah.
So she didn't get along with these sort of peasant KCs. And she didn't get along with the Africans. So they sort of like grew up on their own.
So Kodhek was part of the AG's office, but he wasn't treated with the same level of respect. He was given shitty cases and even shittier pay. He was paid 3 times less than his white colleagues. So he quit his job and he began working for Chanan Singh Advocates before starting his own small law firm at Church House.
Yeah.
That's where he would defend a lot of the Mau Mau people, and he saved a lot of people from the noose, including Waruru Kanga, and 48 of those accused for murdering colonial loyalists.
Waruru Kanja. And,
Kanja, thank you, my God.
Yeah, there were a few other sort of big-ish names that were saved by Argwings. And he put his name together with the Dennis Pritt.
Yes.
I think very important.
So once he had his own law firm, he was doing his own thing, LSK found a way to stop him from practicing law. In 1957, they launched an investigation into his law firm and found that he was not keeping his books well.
Dantes was not in order.
He did not distinguish his clients' accounts and did not properly reflect all the money he was making. Even though these facts suggest that Kodhek may have been fraudulent, the LSK never accused him of fraud. Yet they recommended that he be disbarred. And so he was disbarred. Kodhek's name was removed from the role of advocates, but he was still recognized in the UK. So the next year, in 1958, LSK wrote to the Bar Council in England and asked them to also expel Kodhek from their role and to expel him from Lincoln's Inn. Even though, and I cannot stress this enough, he had not been accused of fraud. At most, he was accused of accounting mismanagement.
So he had powerful enemies.
Yes.
He basically was a guy who was good at lawing, but not very good at financial accounting.
Like, and what makes it worse is that this accounting mismanagement is something that other people had also been accused of, yet they'd been let off with a slap on the wrist.
Yeah,
Take for example the case of Sri Ram Gautama. He was accused of fraud by his client, yet he was only suspended for 2 years. He was allowed to keep his license to practice. Or the case of the English lawyer, Mr. B.J. Robson, who was also accused of fraud.
Child.
I'm sorry, it's funny.
You know, there was a meme I saw today that was like, every friends group has that person who is able to make every conversation dirty.
It's not me.
The first person that came into my mind was you.
It's not me.
You and... Actually, it's a bunch of you. It's just me who's a holy person. You see the problem? You see the problem?
Then what are you doing hanging around a bunch of sinners?
This may sound a little blasphemous.
Oh my God, don't you do it. No, moving on.
Jesus.
No. Moving the fuck on.
Sat among sinners.
I was trying to save you from
I am
blasphemy.
following the leader.
The King
in my
of
ways.
Kings and the Lord of
I am
Lords.
following his actions. So I don't hang out with the holy. I hang out with the sinners.
And we are pleased to have you around us.
Yes, as the angel on your right shoulder.
Sure. Now, Mr. B.J. Robson was also accused of fraud. He was an English lawyer. Yet he was arrested, charged, convicted, but he was not disbarred. And yet Kodhek, a man who was not accused of fraud, was not only disbarred, but somebody made an attempt to disbar him in England as well. Because,
Powerful enemies.
and also racism.
And powerful enemies.
It also didn't help, like, as you said, that he was married to a white lady.
Oh, that never helps. In that time, being married to a white person, you're rejected by your black people because, please, why you are marrying a white person?
Why would you ally yourself to that side?
Number two, and we have many eligible black women here.
Here too, yeah.
In fact, I'm sure many of his family members were like, here in Africa, you can have two. You can just get another one. Please, just one for the show in Kenya.
Okay.
Then you're rejected by the Mzungus because they don't want you breaking with this.
Tradition and everything, yeah.
So you're just sort of always on your own.
Yeah. So Kodhek kind of just took everything in stride. I think he must have been incredibly mentally strong to like deal with this, because in this instance, if you have a persecution complex and like if that is a byproduct of everything you've gone through, I get it. It makes a lot of sense, because it's very clear that people are after your ass, and people definitely don't want you to be where you currently are. So as all this was happening, as the LSK was trying to disbar him, trying to basically stop him from practicing law, around 1955, Kodhek was approached by Wycliffe Awori's office to create the Kenya African National Congress. Kodhek was expected to help draft a party constitution and be the president of the organization, leading a committee of 8 in governing the party.
However,
upon hearing the name of the party, the Kenyan African National Congress, the colonial government was like, no.
you know, it was illegal.
No. Yeah, it was illegal. There was like you weren't allowed
You're
to
not allowed
do
to have a
national
national
politics.
party. Yeah.
So Kodhek was like, okay, fine, I'll change the name. And in 1956, the name of the party was changed to the Nairobi District African Congress, and a license was granted.
Fun fact, that apparently during the negotiations, I think I got this from the Standard or something, that after he was rejected the Kenya African National Congress as like what you would call
a fuck you
to the people, his next name was the Hiroshima Nagasaki Party.
Oh my god, what the fuck? Ooh.
Yep.
Okay, you know what?
That's the rumor. So
you know what petty is as petty does.
he did it just as in he knew it was never gonna be accepted, but he's
still,
like,
this is a fuck
this
you.
this is part of his negotiations. It's like, and then he came down and then he agreed to the Nairobi
District African Congress.
NDAC.
So the license came right in time for the 1957 LegCo elections, where Kodhek was considered to be a shoe-in for the mayor of Nairobi post. That was until one man came in and stole his thunder.
His greatest rival,
Tom Mboya.
Tom Joseph Mboya.
So like, here's the thing about their rivalry. I actually think it would make a very good like television show.
I'm telling you,
I think it would make a fantastic
if
content.
If my laziness didn't subsided one day, I would just focus on African history and just make there's so many stories.
So many good stories. Like I still...
But this would... The sad thing about Kodhek is that because history has been unkind to recording his history...
Yep.
He's going to end up being a footnote. He's already ended up becoming a footnote in
Mboya's
story. So it'll be like the movie of Mboya. This will be the beginning, like Mboya's first big challenge against the one everyone thinks is better, smarter. He beats him, and then now he goes on to fight Jaramogi and the government, and then gets.
Yeah. So here's the thing about Kodhek and Mboya. They were both excellent speakers. Both quite intelligent men.
Both Luos.
But only Mboya was an organizer. He knew how to get people on board with his plans and how to get them to do what they needed to do. And Kodhek just
Mboya was a unionist.
Yeah.
Kodhek was a barrister.
Basically.
Please.
He was used to working alone. Because a lot of barristers are kind of like working independently for the most part. And as a result, when the campaign season ran around, because and everyone knows this, in politics there are a lot of things that determine whether or not you win or lose. But the two main things are your capacity to organize and mobilize, and the amount of money you have.
Besha.
So the reason why, I've heard this said many times, but the reason why Raila consistently loses is that he's so poorly organized.
Terrible.
And his opponents are just not.
Yeah, because they know how big of a... When you know how big that threat is, by the way, you better be organized.
They get their shit together. And Kodhek was a really bad organizer. So as soon as the campaigns began, he lost control of the party. Shit hit the fan. He was suspended as president of the Nairobi District African Congress for mismanagement, sensing a theme here. And Kodhek always suspected that Mboya had a hand in this, and Mboya is the one that got him kicked out.
Almost certainly.
And Mboya was like, nah, I will clown you for marrying a white woman. I will clown you for your drinking. I will clown you for being what I think is a waste of space. But I did not do this. This is all you, sir.
When your opponent is on the ropes, you take a bazooka and bang. You don't keep punching. You destroy them.
But Mboya was consistent in that I didn't do this, right? So without a party to mobilize and rally support for him, he lost to Mboya. I think he got 1,746 votes, and Mboya got 2,138 votes.
Yeah, that's a thrashing.
That's a thrashing. But this didn't stop Mboya from doing his bit to prepare for the country for independence. He continued to speak out against injustices, and in 1959, he used his connections in British Parliament to bring attention to the Holla massacre, where colonial officials clubbed 11 people to death and then tried to cover it up. In response to this, the British government attempted to distance themselves from this crime against humanity and argued that what those colonial officers did not reflect our laws. It was the whole bad apples argument, right? And Kodhek's response is, and I fucking love it, is, and I quote, "Woe and wilt upon Britannia that she chooses to export the most stupid and vile of her sons to civilize Africa. O mistaken queen, come and evacuate these simpletons who understand nothing of you, neither your jurisprudence."
Petty.
I'm petty
Beautiful.
all the time. Give me a P. Give me an E. You don't know that video? If we had time, I swear I'd make you watch it.
Yeah.
So, he was also responsible, apparently, for Odinga's airlift plan in the 1960s. I read a resource that said that he was the one that came up with the idea of sending students to Eastern Europe for their degrees. Now, that same source alleges that Kodhek assisted 200 potential students in leaving the country to go to East Europe. And when time came for Kenya to negotiate for its independence at the Lancaster conferences, Kodhek was there to help us navigate the legal hurdles, because the British people were going to try shit. And he was also there to help us draft our constitution. You'd think this would have, everything would have prepared him to be the AG or the Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs. But nope. When Kenya gained its independence, Kodhek was appointed the Assistant Minister of Defense, which is weird. As a politician, however, Kodhek was known for being absolutely savage in Parliament. When an MP was trying to place a part of the Mount Kenya Forest Reserve, Kodhek replied, and I quote, "Mr. Speaker, I notice that the honourable member is rather underdeveloped under the chin."
Rather underdeveloped.
Under the chin.
I don't even know what that
I don't
means.
even. It just sounds like an insult.
It's definitely an
It
insult.
sounds like an insult. I don't know what he's trying to say.
I thought it'd be rather underdeveloped above the chin, because that
Same,
means your
same.
brain is.
Same, but when I was reading the Hansard, is it I don't know, you have a weak neck? Is it or is it because majority of the politicians were male? So is it that you have tiny balls and a tiny? I mean, they were
Possible.
a lot less explicit back then. So I don't know. There was also another time when, as the PS for Health and Housing, his time had ended on the floor. And when he was informed that he kind of needed to stop talking, his response was no. And he continued to talk. Yeah.
Brave.
He's also known for being a friend that people could trust, a person who builds bridges. He was a consummate nationalist who believed in national unity. At the end of one speech, Kodhek once said, and I quote, "In ending this speech, I must beseech all members and pray that we shall have, as the Germans say, Kenya above all, Deutschland über alles, so that we may live here, and when we die, we shall have left Kenya a better place than when we came to it." End quote. As you can imagine, Kodhek fucking hated tribalism. He detested the late night meetings that led to cliques and in and out groups, and he wanted the government to be about everyone and not just a specific subset of people. He even warned the government about presuming that independence was the end of the story by saying, and I quote, "Eternal vigilance is the price of liberty."
Internal vigilance
Is the price
of
of
liberty.
It's
You can
actually-
just tell this guy had a British accent.
Of course he
You can
did.
just tell. This English is just such King's English.
Yes.
Continue.
Okay, so in 1966, Odinga was kicked out of Kanu, orchestrated by Mboya. And as everyone started side-eyeing, by everyone I mean the Kikuyu elites, started side-eyeing the Luos, Kodhek remained loyal to Kanu. And for his loyalty, he was appointed as foreign minister from 1966 to 1969, which would be the year of his death. By the time he was dying, I think he was only 46 years old, I think. He was very young. Now, Kodhek...
Don't assassinate old people. Think of all the ones who've been
Oh my
assassinated.
God, speaking of old people, Henry Kissinger is still alive? He's
You said
100.
that before. I don't know why you have problems.
It's Henry Kissinger. The man orchestrated the bombing of Cambodia for no other reason than to get white people to vote for Nixon.
But do you remember the guy who instituted Nagasaki and Hiroshima?
So wasn't it Truman?
No, but who was behind the Oppenheimer
FDR.
project? It
FDR.
was FDR.
Yeah.
Okay. See, they're all terrible.
They're all terrible, sure, but you know what? Yeah, fair enough. It's just that FDR also did some bunch of good things.
My
Kissinger
point
is a
was,
dick.
if you look at most of the assassinations in Kenyan history, in African history, they're like all under 60. It's just young people.
Youth.
Think Tom Mboya, Pio Gama Pinto, C.G.M.
Yeah.
Karaoke, Argwings Kodhek, Thomas Sankara. You have this other guy who was the head of Samora Machel.
Don't you also have what's his
young.
face? Patrice Lumumba?
Patrice Lumumba. All young.
So now it's time to talk about how Kodhek died and how little we know about it. He was killed in a quote-unquote mysterious car accident on the 29th of January 1969. And here's what happened according to his second wife. They parted ways after an event at the Princess Hotel on Mboya Street. She left ahead of him in his car to their home in La Vie so she could tend to their children. Kodhek was supposed to drive her car home. Yet as the hours ticked by, he was nowhere to be seen. So she started to get a bit worried. And at 10 p.m., she still had heard nothing. 11 p.m., nothing. 30 minutes later, the police show up on her doorstep. And they tell her that her husband, Kodhek, had been involved in a car accident at the junction of the present-day Wood Avenue and Argwings Kodhek Road. Her husband, Kodhek, was now in the hospital, and she was like, take me to see him. Take me to the site of the accident. And the cops took her. When she got to the site of the accident, she saw broken glass, oil, and blood. What she didn't see was Kodhek's car, specifically her car that he was supposed to be driving. When she asked about it, the cops were like, oh, the car was towed away. And she was like, isn't this a crime scene? Why would you remove evidence? So this is suspicious, but okay, I'm gonna let this go for now. Thereafter, she was taken to Nairobi Hospital where Kodhek was still alive and in the emergency room. She made sure he was receiving the best possible care. She was updated on his condition, and she was like, you know what, I think he's going to be fine. So she left. She was then awoken at 5:30 in the morning on the 29th of January and asked to return to the hospital. There she found Kodhek dead. He was already been covered by a sheet. And remember at the beginning how I was like very unhinged about how little we know about this? It was like giving Charles from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia energy. You know, when he's with the board and the tape.
Yeah, I have 100%
And
watched
the red.
Oh, It's Always Sunny.
You know that meme?
Never watched it.
You know that meme with the guy in this suit-ish thing and he has a notice board with red string all over it? Yeah, it was serving that energy anyway. And I'm going to allow myself to seep back into that energy for a moment because this doesn't make sense. Number one, how did they know that what car Kodhek was going to be in? Unless they were monitoring both his car and his wife's car, they would not have known about the switch.
Yeah.
Because by that same logic, they would have gone after the wife in his car, right? I mean, it could have also just been like it was an accident, like genuinely just an accident, because they didn't know that he was in his wife's car, and it was just some random guy that he got into an accident with. We don't know. What we do know is that his story stops basically as soon as he dies, which is weird because we don't know if his death was a murder or an unfortunate accident. I could not find evidence that the police investigated it. I could not find evidence in the Hansard that this was brought up in Parliament. I could not find evidence in newspapers, or I could not find the newspapers I needed to see how people reacted to his death. It's just weird that everywhere you look, his story just ends as soon as he dies.
Well, they named a road after him, so...
Gee, that feels so nice. You also want to know who else got a road named after him?
Francis Atwoli. Don't tell Boniface Mwangi that.
And it's still so weird that we know little about his death because he was a minister, the foreign affairs minister at the time he died, and the government did not investigate. It looks like they didn't make any attempt to investigate his death.
I truly, completely, and people have called me Uncle Tom, so you are allowed to go against this. Completely believe that if it were an assassination, it was 100% not a government assassination. You know, the question we ask in all these assassinations, we asked it in C.G.M, we asked it in Mboya. I'm sure you asked it in any other, in the Pio Gama Pinto one as well.
I haven't done Pio Gama Pinto.
You haven't done Pio Gama?
It was Wari.
Oh, Warohio.
Warohio.
See, Warohio, it was very clear. The Mama killed him. That was obvious. That was done.
Or it could have been the white people.
Or the white people looking for an excuse to
Yeah.
get in. For Argwings Kodhek, in terms of national politics, he wasn't a threat enough to any of the lower leaders. He wasn't a threat to the government. He was not against. He stayed in Kanu when he should have been going to KPU because he was an ally of Jaramogi. To me, and to it doesn't make sense that the government would need to assassinate him.
Yeah.
And then also you look at the other small things. At Argwin's funeral, Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi gives the eulogy. Jomo Kenyatta flies down the day that Argwings Kodhek is announced dead to come and condole with the family. He attends the funeral with no attacks. Tom Mboya is seen, if you watch the small clip, is seen one of the pallbearers carrying the body. So to the naked mind, you're like, these don't seem like people guilty of an action that they committed. While if you look 6 months later, was it even 6 months?
It was 6 months. It was
almost
literally
exactly six
6
months
months
later, at the Tom Mboya situation, none of the government, apart from I think it was Mwai Kibaki, managed to attend. The chaos that ensued was ridiculous. The fire, the anger, the movements by Jaramogi, like it was chaos. But this one, it seems like everyone just came together to say bye to Argwings Kodhek.
Yeah.
So I would believe if it was, because someone did tell me that one thing we don't look at enough, one thing we overlook is that during that time, a lot of people were killed for business.
Okay.
So maybe it was a business deal that went wrong.
Maybe. Or it could have just been that, like a mysterious accident, because by 1969 there had already been like 7 such road accidents, I think, that involved prominent or big people. So maybe he was just an unfortunate statistic. The only thing that has given me a bit of pause is that and I read this in multiple sources, I think even in Google, the arts and culture page for Argwings Kodhek, was that he had apparently, like, his body also looked like it had been shot at. Apparently Jonjo like took one look at his body, he was like, well, it kind of looks like he was shot at.
And that's Jonjo.
That's the thing. I wish. I don't know why
Can't
he
be
died
government,
without writing a book. Somebody should just compile his
No,
letters.
it's
and
better
things.
he didn't, because honestly, the saddest thing about all these books, even though I said I'm excited to read Duale's books, is that when you're reading these political leaders' books, they're all tamed down and they don't tell you the truth. Jonjo would never have told us the truth.
Do you think he was allowed to?
Me, I told you what I would have done if I was Jonjo. Simple. I write the book, keep it very secretive. Upon my demise, in the reading of the will, it is stipulated that this book will be published. It goes through private publishers, government doesn't get to know about it. Boom! It just blows up everywhere.
Do you really think that would happen? I don't know. I think
If you plan it enough. If Kenyans of the world, if you appoint me to something, I promise you, if I've done crazy things, by the time I say peace, you'll know everything. You'll know.
Because you're dying, you might as well die with a clear conscience.
Let me go with a bang. Let me be like, what are those people who in your shows, in your like Real Housewives and whatever, like let it all burn. Let's just scorched earth. Let's just you know what? Let's be petty. Let's just go like that. Let Kenyans know the truth, because my curiosity kills me. Tom Mboya kills me. C.G.M Kariithi kills me. Argwings not so much, because I think he was in an accident, but it's just frustrating. But anyways.
No, that's it. The man is dead. We like his story's ended naturally because he's dead, but also because they just stopped recording it. It stopped mattering for some reason, which is at odds with his significance in creating Kenya as an independent country, as a people, as a state.
So,
We're done.
I would give my final call, which is actually sort of a sad statement, but I feel people like Argwings Kodhek, people like many others in our history, it's a bit sad because they're ending up becoming footnotes in our history rather than people exploring their significance to the history of this country. I feel there's so many stories that haven't been told that need to be told about greatness. Like Argwings Kodhek, you can tell his life, a life that reached 40 something.
46.
You can divide it into 3 stories. You have Argwings Kodhek, the African man who fought for the Kapenguria Six, the one and the only.
Yes.
Because the rest, there's a article that says Dennis Pritt, when he was talking about the 1952 time, he counted him, he counted some other guy, and then he said junior Kenyan lawyers. Like Argwings Kodhek was the senior Kenyan lawyer.
Yeah.
You talk about his history there. You talk about his overcoming time in the UK and his fighting. You talk about his storytelling.
Yeah.
All of that has faded up into the air.
Yeah.
And all we are left with is this is the guy Mboya beat.
Yeah.
And then died mysteriously.
Yeah.
It's extremely sad.
His history no longer became about what he did, but who he was up against. It became about someone else.
Exactly.
I guess in that way he was murdered twice, wasn't he? First literally, then second historically.
Historically. But we're historically murdering hundreds of people. Jeremiah Kiano, the Kionis, there's so many people who did such a great thing to African history who are getting forgotten. G.K. Kariithi, I don't know who that is, but I'm just saying his name,
Hey, maybe we should do a podcast episode about it. Maybe, just maybe, you could write the script for that one.
If certain factors do happen, I would gladly do it.
Oh, thank God.
But that's a big if. So, but there's so many stories that are forgotten that I wish need to be remembered.
And I would like to think that we have done our job in remembering this great, great man. And on that note, thank you so much for coming. I have no idea when the next episode will be.
You have to do a Madaraka Day episode.
On what?
There's so much.
Like what?
Have you done? I think you did. You did do Kapenguria.
I haven't done the Kapenguria.
Do the Kapenguria.
My God.
Madaraka Day. Do the Kapenguria.
Do you want to help me with the research? It's work.
You will enjoy it.
And you have to do. Just starting is an idea.
Yeah, start. We are calling on Aileen to do Kapenguria 6, and then the next one after that will be on the Asian Kenyan community and their history. So Markan Singh, the Pio Gama Pinto, and then you have the business guys, the Souza, like you could do a whole series on them, but you could just do it in one episode. So
you know what? Because I was actually thinking in terms of content for the Madaraka Day, which is a Thursday, which is a waste of a public holiday.
So
in my
sad.
opinion.
No, everyone's gonna take Friday off.
Yeah, like
Friday is not gonna be a work day again.
They should just assume it's not, because it's like people are going to be hanging from Thursday.
No one is going to work. Let me not lie to you. It's only lawyers and doctors and
lawyers, because lawyers
who have to work. Yeah.
So I was actually thinking for that episode, considering that it's 60 years. We would spend some time discussing the state of our great republic to see the thesis would be it's one of my favorite John Green quotes where he says revolution is a 360-degree turn where you end up right back where you started.
You've said it so many times
because it's a beautiful quote, because it's true.
So why don't we do a double header?
True.
You look at the case as a lawyer, look at the Kapenguria 6 case, and then as we're having our banter nonsense, we'll talk about the state of our republic.
Okay, you know what? That could be fun. It would give me some chances to brush off the old law degree. Actually use it for what it's meant for and not just like research and banter.
Exactly. And you can look at some of the giants in our law history. People like Dennis Pritt. Interesting guy.
Interesting people.
And there's another Asian guy I can never remember. It may have been Fitz D'Souza, who was he a lawyer? Yes.
Can't remember.
Who was also fighting for the republic at that time. Like Kapenguria was a story.
I think what I find most interesting about on the subject of the Asian community is that for all they have done to secure the independence of this country, we are very quick to put them in a box.
Yes.
And kind of ignore them politically until it's relevant.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that's not fair to them because they are also Kenyan and they should have a say in our republic.
And that's why you have to do your Asian Kenyan series.
I'm just not entirely sure if we are the best people to be speaking about this because we are part of the ethnic majority talking about the history of an ethnic minority.
You can't always be scared of saying things that
It's
need
not
to be
it's
said.
it's not that I'm afraid of saying what needs to be said. It's that I want to make sure it's an accurate representation.
Once I was doing the research on Makan Singh, I think his name was Makan Singh. Makan Singh didn't even, he wasn't even Kenyan. He was Indian. He just came here for the fight because he was a trade unionist, and for the fight that was. And his history is so interesting. There's books that he wrote. There's books about him. I don't know where to find them. I was trying very hard to find them at a time.
Have you tried Z? Nope, we're not going to say that. Z Library is still dead.
I don't know me. I don't deal with piracy and theft.
Yes, it's illegal. Don't pirate content.
Don't do that. I watch
Pay for
Netflix, Amazon,
Showmax.
Showmax, and then when Disney Plus comes, I'll watch that as well.
Pay for it.
Honestly, let me tell you, people. Now, Disney is the only one I almost gonna say condone piracy, because you haven't brought that platform to Kenya. We can't pay for it.
To be honest,
please, how else do we watch your content?
Yeah, exactly. If we want to be a part of the global world that's talking about Disney content. But you're not giving us the opportunity, son. So what else do you expect us to do? You just expect us to...
How do you think our kids are going to watch Lion King? You think we're going to go and buy the DVD?
Nobody has DVDs. Oh, I have DVDs.
I do not. Well, okay, you're looking right at a player. It's never been played. So...
Yeah, it is looking a little bit dusty.
You get out of my house.
A little crusty.
So thank you so much for watching the Utajua Hujui podcast. Thank you so much for listening to the Utajua Hujui podcast. I have been your host, Aileen, drinking my peppermint tea, and
green tea and mint.
Drinking my green tea and mint tea, and been sitting opposite the greatest man I know, none other than the greatness himself.
Well, see, there's no way for me to disagree with that without saying it in a dickish way. So I'm just gonna go. I don't know about that, but I will say this: for the first time in forever, we finished in under an hour. The episode is done. It's wonderful. High five. High five us. High five. He flipped me off. No.
It's a lie. It's a lie.
Bye.
It's a lie.
Bye.
Farewell.
Thank you so much for listening to the Utajua Hujui podcast. I really appreciate you giving me your time of day. I know that your time is very valuable. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram at utajuahujui.pod. That is at UTAJUAHUJUI.pod on Instagram. Please don't forget to like, share, review, do all the nice things. I could really use the boost. Okay, enjoy the rest of your time on this planet. Goodbye.